Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Don't let me down, Bruce.
Exactly.
That's didn't let us down tonight, David.
Underrated band of the 1970s, Bruce, ELO. You never hear them anymore, but rarely. Maybe you play them. Maybe it's Shea McCurdy. Do you play ELO?
I still got Fear. No, not Fear of Music. What is that one called? Oh man. Huh. Anyway, I still have some ELO in my collection. I like them a lot. I liked them when they were the Move, before they were ELO in the early 70s, late 60s.
You were an encyclopedia of hockey and music knowledge. Bruce, the Oilers...
Face the Music, it's called. Face the Music.
The Oilers won a huge game tonight for them, 4-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs in overtime. The Oilers have been not a bad team all year in the scoring chance metric, but they haven't been able to get even any loser points in their 6 losses. Yeah. So this was an absolutely crucial win. When you've only got 3 wins in 9 games, you better win the next one. You cannot start to suck too bad. And they won, and they really deserved to win, Bruce. Again, against the Leafs, I think they were the better team. I think actually they've been the slightly better team in all 4 games, if I was completely telling you the truth. What do you think? What was your take of tonight's game, just generally?
Oh, well, it was exciting. Like both teams came out giving her, and that was, it was a good sort of Saturday night hockey night in Canada, put on a show for the fans. Like some of the earlier Toronto Edmonton games were pretty close to the vest and not all that interesting at times, to be frank. But tonight's game was wide open at first, and in the third period it got a little tighter, checking and much, of course, more tense, with points on the line where one mistake could be the difference between 1 point and a chance at a second one versus another night with nothing to show for it. And we've seen that. This was the 6th game in a row that the Oilers have been tied in the third period, and the first one that actually made it to overtime. So they've been, they lost. They won the first one of those games, and they lost 3 out of the next 4, giving up a lot of go-ahead goals against in the third period. And tonight they had that one Toronto power play. Man, I was sweating bullets during that.
Oh, jeez.
That one third period power play, which the Oilers PK unit has been struggling mightily, to say the least. But thanks to some miraculous work from the big man between the pipes and some good penalty killing in between times, they got through that emergency, and that was a key part of keeping the game under control.
Yeah, they finally have moved away from Turris on the PK, and it looks like Draisaitl's essentially taken his spot, which is more ice time for Leon. But all right, Bruce, this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And because it was a huge win for the Oilers, we'll go with 2 good things each. I'll start it off with Koskinen, because you mentioned the saves he made in the third period. He was just he hasn't been the best goalie on the ice most games this year, and even arguably this game, Freddie Anderson, made some big saves as well, but Koskinen made the big save in overtime on Nylander on a very dangerous shot, and Freddie Anderson didn't. So I'm going to give this to Koskinen. And when you have the best goalie on the night, you very often have the win on the night. Koskinen, it was starting out versus kind of a typical Koskinen performance, I hate to say, in that the Oilers were badly outchancing the Leafs early in the game, and yet the Leafs scored on their grade A chances when they had them. And again, Koskinen didn't look necessarily bad on any of the goals against. They were all pretty good shots, but he didn't make the save. Changed in the third period, though, Bruce. These 2 saves he made early in the third on, I think it was Marner and Hyman.
No.
Just, was that on the peak? Was that on the power play or not? No, that was at even strength. And just just absolutely critical saves. You give Mitch Marner all that time down low in the slot. That's a really ugly moment. Or was that, am I talking about was that in
I
the
think that
second?
was early in the second, yeah.
That was early in the second, and then early in the third, there was some more heroics. That sliding glove save,
Well, the
in
power
particular.
play
Yeah,
chance where Adam Larson tried to clear it and he didn't miss. He rifled one waist high, and Mitch Marner somehow took the thing right out of the air, under control. And I mean,
good
poor
hands.
Larson gets charged with the turnover, by our count and the error on the play. But holy moly, that was a phenomenal play by Marner. And then looked like he had Koskinen beaten, and like he went wide, and he fired one just inside the post, and Mikko did the full 3 meter man diving lunge and got the leather on it. That was just a breathtaking save. Not the kind of save you usually see in hockey, a 6'7" goalie diving full length to get a piece of a shot, but that's what was needed on that play. And if he'd been 6'5", I don't think he would have got it. Let's put it that way. That was just a tremendous, tremendous save.
Yeah,
And it would have been a killer goal if Toronto had scored on that power play
it would have been
at that
over.
point.
We know it would have been over because that's
Yeah.
too disheartening. Yeah, the Marner and the Hyman saves came in the second period. My mistake there, and then it was the big save again on Marner. I think that was Marner who shot that puck.
Yes.
Man, it was just like, yeah, there's at least four or five alarm shots from Toronto in that game, and I think Koskinen got all of them. So that's good playing. That's what you need to win games. So good for him. What's your good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, well, my good thing number one, I'm going to compliment players and star players on both teams. This any Edmonton versus Toronto game is a big matchup between four superstar centers. There's no other way to put it. Three first overall draft choices in Connor McDavid, John Tavares, and Austin Matthews, and one lowly third overall draft choice in Leon Draisaitl. And all four of those big men came to play. They put on a show. Of the 6 goals in regulation, one of those four guys had a primary point, either the goal or the first assist on all 6 of the goals, made a key play on all of them. And then, of course, on the overtime winner, 2 of them combined to score and have the primary helper when McDavid tipped home that great Draisaitl pass to decide it. But I just thought that the teams, and especially led by their big stars, and you can add Mitch Marner to that list as well, who was exceptional player for Toronto, who put on a show. Like, this was a game worthy of Hockey Night in Canada. This is the kind of hockey you want to see, and nice to see it come from Edmonton, and nice to see Edmonton beating the Leafs at Rogers Place for the first time ever. That was due, but just hats off to the big guns on both teams. They put on a whale of a show. And at the end of the night, we had McDavid with 3 points, Draisaitl, Tavares with 2 each, and Matthews with 1.
Bruce, McDavid's goal, his first goal.
Oh,
we don't often see Connor McDavid smile like that smile. But after he scored, he was kind of calm for like 3 seconds, and then he just couldn't. The grin exploded out of him, just like he exploded past those Leafs defenders. Man, he just went around. He turnstiled Muzzin, and but he went around all 4 players as he made that rush.
Yeah.
He beat them all, and then beat the goalie with a great stick feint before shooting the puck. Backhand to forehand, really quick. It's a career highlight goal. It's one of those that could be on his career highlight reel.
It's going to be a long reel, but that's one of them for sure.
There's the one last year. Yeah, and then this year, this is it so far. That's it. So way to go, Connor
Vancouver,
McDavid.
Game 2, but this was one of those ones that before they even showed the first replay, they're going, well, that's an all-timer, and it was. I mean, the thing about the replays, and watch carefully when you see this go on replay, as you probably will another 500 or 1,000 times this year. The very unusual and cool thing that happens is that the Toronto left defenseman, desperately trying to check McDavid, somehow gets his stick wedged in the back of McDavid's skate boot, between the skate boot and the back of his calf, and he lifts his leg, almost an old Picard on Bobby Orr style. So McDavid going in, instead of putting his foot back down, it's lifted out of position. And he's hanging on one leg like Mark Messier while he's doing this little backhand to forehand, stick it right in the top corner move, while he's, off balance and sort of encountering something they didn't expect, all on one foot. Like, it's just an unbelievable play. Incredible to watch. And the more I watched the replay, the more I gasped at how did he actually stay under control long enough to do that? Because I don't think I've ever seen a guy tripped or fouled there. But I mean, you could have called it hooking, tripping, whatever, because the stick actually got caught in the back of his skate, like in a weird place. But that was just uncanny. I said a million miles an hour. Let's not forget that part.
I really loved Draisaitl's game, Bruce, and I just thought his hustle. There was one back check where he just came back so hard on the play and probably stopped a goal against. That was the most he's hustled in a game all year. He finally had. I think he's actually been a little slow all year long. He hasn't brought his A game truly, but tonight we saw it. The two-way player that Leon Draisaitl could be, and culminating with just an absolutely brilliant mind F of the Leafs defenseman on the winning goal. Draisaitl was looking into the middle of the ice, looking in the middle of the ice, looking in the middle of the ice, just waiting for McDavid to burst through. And the defenseman was, as a consequence, was up high on Draisaitl. And then Draisaitl extends his arms and pushes the puck past the Leafs defenseman to McDavid. And it was all due to that brilliant feint of Leon Draisaitl. He is such a clever hockey player, and just so great hustle, great smarts, and great game. So I gave him an 8 out of 10, just like I gave McDavid. I had to mark McDavid down a little bit, Bruce, because there was one shift in the second period when Marner and Hyman got those chances that he was on walkabout. He had been puck watching, and that's what was a major contribution. Him and Bear both got caught out on that play, and the Toronto didn't score was kind of a minor miracle there. So.
Yeah, +7 for Leon on the year, by the way, on a -5 team. So for all that,
it's terrible, but
he hasn't been burned for goals. He has on the times that he has had defensive mistakes. But here's an example, and this is where our system is good, but it's not perfect. There was a play, and I think you referenced it already, where Toronto guy had a partial breakaway coming up the middle on a terrible line change. Well, it actually was a good line change. It was a terrible dump out by Zach Cassian, and a change where all of the Oilers were on the bench side. And
bad.
I said to my wife, "Here comes a breakaway," and sure enough, the pass comes up the other side, and Leon busted his ass to get over there and get a piece of that shot and deflect it wide. But then about 10 seconds later, there was a shot from the corner that got tipped in front, a much less dangerous shot than the one he stopped, but we docked Leon for not making the defensive play on the second one, when his net contribution to that play was likely saving a goal, right? So anyway, he makes big defensive plays, but he does make mistakes, and we count the mistakes. So that's...
Yeah. I think McDavid's been the better two-way player all year, but this game, Draisaitl came to the fore. His line had its best game as well, and they didn't really create a ton, but they did get the goal. Kahun finally got off the schneid, a word that neither of us can probably spell. Right. But so my second good thing.
Goal too.
Yeah, that was a nice goal. Man, did he ever need it? That was his. I think it was his 7th grade A shot on net, and he finally got one in. Yeah. My second good thing, I'm just going to quickly run through. I just thought Jones and Larson were really solid at even strength. And Jones probably had his best game of the year. Larson, I know, has gotten some criticism, Bruce, but I really have seen him as a strong defensive player, aside from a few glaring mistakes on a few goals against. But this was just another really solid defensive game from Adam Larson. And I keep saying this, but I do believe it's true. If you didn't have Adam Larson on your team, you'd be forever looking for that defenseman, because he is a big, solid defensive shutdown defenseman who can take on really strong attackers and get the job done. They were more solid than Bear and Nurse were tonight, Larson and Jones. They were the most effective defensive pairing on the Oilers. So I really like both of them. And I thought also Tyson Barrie, finally we saw a more active an agile attacking player, someone who seemed to want to make some good plays, and was going to do it, was going to show what he has in the game, and he did it. Now he didn't have a perfect game. He made some mistakes on grade A chances against, but he made some strong contributions to the play, and the Oilers really needed that from him. We needed to see the best Tyson Barrie, because I was starting to think, why not play Evan Bouchard instead of him? But now he showed why he belonged in the lineup with that game. What's your next good thing?
I'm going to give a tip of the hat to the fourth line.
Yeah.
Who had a pretty good game, all things considered. They didn't play a whole lot, but when they played, they did their thing. They created two fantastic scoring chances that created a third fantastic scoring chance that was a penalty shot. But by hard work and driving the net and just creating a disturbance in front and it was one of those cases where the guy gloved the puck in the crease, or it was going in the net. And on such a play, of course, the option is with the coach of the non-offending team, as the rule book says, that didn't commit the foul. They can choose any player who's on the ice to take the penalty shot. And of course, you look out on the ice, no McDavid, no Draisaitl. And you got the fourth line out there. And I said to my wife, I said the ref's going to go over to Dave Tippett and say, it's your choice. Who do you want, Huey, Dewey, or Louie? And then, of course, they did pick Tyler Ennis to take the shot, and he missed the net, which is unfortunate in terms of that situation. I would have picked Tyson Barrie. I would have said, let's go with the guy that hates Toronto the most.
Yeah.
That just got dealt out of Toronto, and probably the most offensively skilled of the five guys on the ice at that particular time. But anyway.
Ennis is pretty skilled, though. But yeah.
Well, he needs to hit the net.
That was so demoralizing.
Yeah.
You ever need proof about how demoralizing it is on a grade A chance when you miss the net?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Anyway, the fourth line, minus Devon Shore plus Connor McDavid, scored a huge goal at the end of the first period to give the Oilers the lead they richly deserved. And it was a strong play by both Ennis and Archibald along the boards, with Ennis jumping on the puck, feeding it to Archibald. Archibald rifled a pass along the wall that most players probably wouldn't be able to handle, but he rifled it to Connor McDavid, who handled it fine. And then McDavid made such an exquisite pass back out the short side. I swear I looked at the replay in slow motion about 20 times that McDavid actually made the puck turn on its end when it went around the net. Because if it had been flat, it would have hit the net on the way by. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but that is what happened. And Josh Archibald went to the net, and he. I always think of our friend Murdoch Davis, GTTFN. He says, "Go to the net," and I'll let you fill in the blank for yourself. And that's what Archibald did, and McDavid hit him on the tape, and Archibald just banged it home in his second of the year, but the other was an empty netter, so he actually beat a goalie for the first time. As did Dominik Kahun, and maybe we're starting to see a little bit of fleshing out of the scoring, where we were getting just almost all of the scoring from very few players. So that was big. And then almost in the dying seconds of the game, again, Archibald had a glorious chance to win it. And there, unfortunately, he didn't pick the corner, and Freddie Anderson came across and made the great emergency save. But the fact was, for the little bit of time that those guys played, they spent some of it in the other team's end, and they created chances and won goal in the process. So credit where due. We've needed anything from the fourth line, and we got something tonight.
All right. Bad things. My bad thing is mildly bad. I'm not. I just think Jesse Puljujarvi is kind of not really in sync on the top line, and he made two turnovers that led to Toronto's, was it their first goal, second goal, their second goal. He made a neutral zone turnover, and then in his own zone he lost a board battle and made a turnover, and the Leafs were off to the races from there in scoring. I just think, has he scored this year? I don't even think he
Nope.
scored a goal. He hasn't scored a goal. You got to score in the NHL, and you got to make plays with your teammates. And though I do see excellent hustle,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't give up much defensively, although that turnover was a mistake. He's positionally strong defensively. He's in on the forecheck, popping pucks, but he's not combining well with his teammates. Generally speaking, he did set up McDavid, I think, for one nice chance. But other than that, Bruce, there's just timing issues with him and his teammates that are ongoing that we're seeing. And, the plan was to have him on the third line most of the year. I think maybe that's not a bad idea. I know people dread the idea of Zach Kassian going to the top line, and I can see why. The
Yeah.
turnover that you pointed out in the leading to that goal against
Yeah.
in
Well,
what
leading to that breakaway. Yeah.
breakaway? Yeah, excuse me. Case in point, I don't think Kassian should go there, but I think James Neal maybe has earned a chance. I've been liking James Neal's hustle and his smarts. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I didn't love Puljujärvi's game, and I think he's struggling.
Yeah. Well, when he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot the Leafs 7-2. They got outscored 1-0. It was a mistake, but he did make some nice plays. Like, I wouldn't rip his game, but there's more there. Like, we can see it, and some of it's just a matter of, like, he's a freelancer, and there was, I think, two different plays where McDavid just tries to feather the puck ahead until that Puljujärvi can race in on goal, but both times, yes, it takes kind of a strange angle instead of drifting over in towards the middle of the ice, or where the hole is, where that'll be given the shortest route to the net. He went in a different direction. McDavid missed him with the pass and iced the puck the one time. It could have been a breakaway for the Oilers. Instead, it was an icing. And it just so reminded me of those plays where you see in football, where you have this disciplined quarterback who drops back 1, 2, 3, hold, hit that mark over there, and the receiver sort of halfway through his route decides, oh, there's an opening, and maybe I'll cut left instead of right. And the quarterback winds up giving him a dirty look as they line up for the next huddle, and the chance is gone. And such players tend to be like supremely athletically talented, and they can make things happen. And you got to think it's going to come. Like, they just have to click, and they have to get to the point where McDavid is able to anticipate successfully what Yes is going to do, and to some extent where Yes starts to recognize these are where the lanes are, this is how the pattern of the play goes, that if I follow that pattern, I'm going to get the puck more often than not. And I think that's still a work in progress, and he's just a bit of a freelancer, and by no means is that all a bad thing, but it does lead to challenges for teammates.
Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Oh, got to be that 1-1 goal late in the first period after the Oilers had dominated play and richly deserved the 1-0 lead that they had. And then all of a sudden, one sloppy shift by the still underperforming third line, which tonight combined for one shot on net at the other end of the ice. So you need them to do their job in the defensive zone. And to my eyes, it was like a 5-on-2. There was one Toronto guy that was deep in the zone that wasn't really around the puck. Like he did have, he did come into play once Toronto got the puck, but there was basically 5 Oilers and only 2 Leafs checking them. And Zach Kassian went in, he lost the battle. And then puck came to James Neal. And credit where due. Again, it was a great play by John Tavares. He was all over the puck, and they just couldn't handle him. But you think 2 or 3 against 1, you ought to be able to do something about it. And just the puck support wasn't there. And Neal coughed the puck up, and then the third forward tourist got beaten, and the defenders got beaten. This is where the guy deep in the zone came into play, and I think he was the one who wound up tipping it home. But good play by Tavares, but from a defensive zone perspective, it was an absolute omelet. And I'm sure Dave Tippett will be running some film on that, or video, I guess they call it nowadays, and on that sequence, and he's not going to be happy with what he sees.
Well, Bruce, three veteran players, and they all go for the stick check.
Mm-hmm.
They all don't.
Yeah.
They don't play the man. They don't play the body. They play the puck. And three guys, first Cassian, and then the other two. Come on, like it's not good enough. And Kyle Turris, he's playing his way out of the lineup. He played less than 10 minutes tonight, and I don't know what Haas's status is. I keep bringing this up. I hope he's okay. But the second he's ready, you got to go with him and Shore and give Turris a sit, is what I would do at this point.
Turris is -9, and he's tied with Anthony Mantha of Detroit for the worst such mark in the NHL.
Yeah, and a lot of it's earned, right? It's not just, he's not just out there on the ice. He's at the center of some of these plays. So I do see some good things in his game now and then, but I just wonder. I just think he's not. Maybe is he not, after being off so long? Is he not in great shape? Is that what's going on? Is he not up to speed? Because he just seems a little slow. There's some good moments out there. I'm not saying you never play him again, but I just think, as soon as you're ready to go with someone else, go with someone else, because I'm not seeing the performance that you need to stay in the lineup.
Well, honestly, they didn't sign the guy for his defensive prowess, and he's never been like a great defensive player, but the idea was that he was going to get some back the other way, and that has been very imbalanced to this point.
But Bruce, they did sign him for his defensive prowess. They had him. He's going to be the PK guy. He's taken over for Riley Sheahan, and so maybe not at even strength, but they did have in mind. Tippett did have in mind this player that he coached years ago. I don't know when that World Championship was, who got it done as kind of the checking center, and he thought he could adapt to that role, and maybe he still can, but he's just behind the play, and he's not making plays, and he's not defending them. So, Bruce, what's your number?
I'm going to go with the number 9, and that is the number of shot attempts by Tyson Barrie tonight, including 5 shots on net, 3 that were blocked, 1 that missed the target. But by far his biggest such number of the year. He's had 4 or 5 shot attempts in a few other games, but I think it's a number that reflects his involvement in this game. I've never seen him be more central to the game, handle the puck as much, get involved in the play, get involved in the rush. And he wound up with 2 assists on the night, both sort of routine passes in the neutral zone, to McDavid or Draisaitl, but he got the puck onto the stick of the right guy in both cases. But it wasn't so much the assists that were just kind of they were just kind of rote plays, but I think the shot attempts number gives an indication of a guy who really was involved in the game tonight. He really wanted to beat the Leafs. I think after his experience there last year, that motivation was not a problem with him tonight. And this was easily the best he's looked as an Edmonton Oiler through 10 games.
Alrighty, my numbers are 56 and 40. In the 4 games against the Leafs, Edmonton has had 56 grade A scoring chances. The Leafs have had 40. So the 2 teams are 2-2 with the Leafs with a loser point as well out of that. So, but I any thought that the Oilers are the inferior team to the Leafs? I know that that's not what the standings say right now, but I'm not. Head to head, at least, the Oilers match up very well against Toronto. I think it's safe to say this year, and I don't see that changing. I think the Leafs play kind of a finesse game, and that suits the Oilers, I think, and it's a good signal. I think that it's Montreal obviously dominated Edmonton, and that's the one team that we've seen. But every other team, it's been pretty close. So I'm still liking the Oilers' chances here, Bruce. They have generally, except against Montreal, they've been in all the games, and they've outchanced the other teams in most of those games, and they have, of course, they've just got the 4 wins, but that can happen early in a year, and puck luck can change, and goaltending can change, and hopefully the Oilers will get a little better of both. Of course, now they're severely challenged in that, right, because they've got a game tomorrow night against Ottawa, and what are you going to do? Yeah. What would you do?
Oh, Well, I talk to Koskinen and be the first thing I do, but I think they're probably. I mean, they know they got 3 days off coming up right away. Uh, my tendency would be to give the other guy, Troy Grosnick, a chance. Uh, he did dress tonight as the backup goalie, so he's clearly the number 2 choice. They've moved Stuart Skinner to the taxi squad. They've moved
Yeah.
Dylan Wells to the AHL team, and they've got at least an experienced backup now. But his NHL experience was like 6 seasons ago. But with Koskinen facing another back-to-back tomorrow, and what would be his 11th game in 19 days, that might be an ideal time to give him a break. Tomorrow's game scares me. Ottawa's just sitting watching tonight, and they're hurting off a 7-game losing streak. And if I'm Ottawa, if I'm an Ottawa player or coach, I'm saying this is our chance. Edmonton's just come off a great big emotional win. Good chance they're going to come out at the beginning of the game slow and sloppy. Let's just take it to them and see what happens. And that's frankly what I expect is a bit of a sloppy game tomorrow. And hopefully the Oilers just have enough talent and put up a few goals that they're able to win it. But I predict it will be non-Rembrandt style of game tomorrow.
Maybe
Won't
that's
be
a good
as tonight's game.
Maybe that's a good psychological reason to go with Grosnick, because I agree. This is the Oilers in recent years haven't been able to build off big wins, big emotional wins. They've come out flat in the next game, and they've often come out flat against weaker teams as well. Mm-hmm. So this is a double whammy that we have going here. Of course, Edmonton is still presumably desperate to win.
Need to win the 2 games against Ottawa.
And this is a very young team in Ottawa, but let's just see who's putting up the points for them and getting the ice time.
Putting up points. I got spanked 16-3 in 3 games in Vancouver.
Wow. Yeah. Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris. Yeah, they've got enough players that can score but they're a very young team, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, maybe go to Grosnick because you want to shake the team up, like have them think, well, we've got to play solid defensive hockey here, and protect this goalie and really be tight. Maybe that'll do it, as opposed to. So that's one thought.
Yeah, well, one school of thought I could say is that they might just say, well, and after Tuesday we got some days off, and we gave Mikko a rest day on Friday. He didn't show up to practice. He was good last night. Let's just go back with him. And it wouldn't astonish me at all if that's Tippett's choice. But if there was a game to play the other guy, this would be the game.
Yeah, Ottawa. Well, they've had some disappointments like Dadonov and Galchenyuk. Just 1 goal each for those 2 guys. So Artem. Yes. Jinx. All right, I'll shut up now. Yeah, no, we're both.
We'll hear their names on the PA tomorrow now.
And, we're both very worried about that team. So I'm mentioning that, like worry about those guys because they're desperate to break loose too.
This is where those regulation losses are. Like the Oilers are 4-6. They split 4 series. But the way to split a series is the way Toronto just did, 3 points in 2 games, whereas Edmonton got 2 points in all their splits. So,
all right. Well, they got 4 games against Ottawa coming up, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 out of the next 5, I think it is. They play they play Sunday, Tuesday. They come back Saturday in Calgary against the Flames, next hockey night in Canada, and then I believe they go to Ottawa and play back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. So,
big moment for the Oilers.
Schedule, man.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect?
It's a harsh schedule. Well, it's tough. It's tough if you only got 1 goalie. Let's put it that way. So.
Well, Grosnick is a good AHL goalie. I mean, he's a very good AHL goalie, Bruce. So I'm not against starting him.
He's only 31 years old. Maybe he's the next Tim Thomas.
Next Dwayne Rolfson. It does happen. All right, let's leave it there.
All right.
And we'll talk again tomorrow night. Thanks for talking tonight, Bruce.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.